All right, we are live. What's up, everybody? Of course, we're going to start this off with moving the mic closer to my face. That'll help first. But we're going to start this thing off with race manipulation or, NASCAR manufacturing green white checkers. We've had three, I want to say three green white checkers in the last 4 or 5 races here, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't think that anybody thinks that's a coincidence. Coincidentally, that is the poll question. Does NASCAR manufacture too many green white checkers slash overtime races? Yes, no, whopper, 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 whopper. Or I'm just killing time till the McRib comes back because I know that you are. So those are the options. I'm going with killing time till the McRib comes back because I think this is a pretty much cut or dry question. Of course, NASCAR manipulates these things. They want those exciting finishes. But is it right or wrong? How would you actually get rid of that? If you wanted to get rid of it, the only way to really get rid of it is to get rid of the green white checkered finish, and then you're going to have people complaining that they don't want to see the races finish under yellow. They don't want to see the races finish at the regular distance or the prescribed distance for the race. So you're going to get that pushback from there because there is a good contingent of fans out there. We've thrown that poll question up before that want to see these races end under a green flag condition. Now, obviously, this weekend it didn't work out that way. Or Yeah, it still ended under yellow, didn't it? Yeah. So yeah, this weekend it didn't work out that way because it still ended under yellow. So even with the green white checker, you're not always going to get a green flag finish because if they wreck on the last lap, they're eventually going to throw the caution. That's the other thing to throw into this mix. NASCAR, with the inconsistency of how fast they throw these cautions, we saw several incidents of blown tires in that particular event at Michigan and previous events, most notably Indianapolis when Ryan Preece sat on the racetrack for quite some time, and then they threw the yellow when they deemed it. They wanted to throw it, I guess, is the way some people took that. And then the Martin Truex deal, they immediately, boom, Johnny on the spot threw that yellow because they wanted to get that exciting finish. They wanted that green white checker finish. Whereas previously in that race, you had seen Austin Cindric have an issue, the yellow flag. I can't remember if they threw a yellow flag for that, but if they did, they threw it late. And then, of course, when all three of those cars, or maybe it was four of them, I know it was AJ Allmendinger was one of them, Joey Logano was one of them, and Todd Gilliland and the Grillo's Pickles machine, when he had a flat tire, they ended up throwing the caution late, and they only threw it then because Joey Logano's tire carcass came off. So NASCAR's inconsistency with it, that's just, I guess, the interesting thing. But I think everybody knows that NASCAR is doing this for ratings. They're doing this to create controversy, so they can penalize Austin Dillon all they want to. They can make Austin Dillon the villain, or if you're in the RCR camp, you can make Ricky Stenhouse Jr. the villain. I guess it depends on which side of the aisle you're sitting on there. But at the end of the day, NASCAR loves this stuff. NASCAR loves this because it keeps their name in the news cycle. They like being in the news cycle. They don't have this idea that there's bad publicity or good publicity, which is still up for debate. It's all in how you view it. They're just happy that somebody's talking about them. But that being said, genie's out of the bottle now. Regardless of how the Austin Dillon situation plays out, the genie's out of the bottle. The playoff system has been exposed. There's no going back now. People's eyes have been completely opened to this particular deal. And I think a lot of people are looking at the playoffs now. Even some people that really supported it are looking at the playoffs now like, hey, this is not as great a system as we thought it was, which I've been preaching for a long time. I didn't know necessarily this would be the catalyst that would get a lot of people to look at it like that. But I've been screaming this for a long time that it is no longer a meritocracy, the point system we have now. And I'm not saying you need to get rid of a playoff system, but I'm saying this playoff system is such a opportunistic system where you're not going to reward a meritocratic champion, if that's even a word. I might have just made up a word. I don't know if that's even a word, but because of this system, it just rewards opportunism. So it doesn't really reward somebody who's earned the championship. And that's what has happened with this particular incident. It has finally opened up people's eyes to say, hey, this system is not great. And that's all I've been screaming for the longest time. Now, that being said, I think you still have to have a system because they've broken up the schedule into two or three different forms, right? So one TV partner buys the first half of the season, another TV partner now buys the middle part of the season, and then you buy the end of the season, which is the playoffs. So you do have to have a playoff to sell it to TV. So that's why they have it. I think that's why they originally had it in place anyway. So coming up with a better playoff system, I feel like the chase system was fine. You had 26 races to qualify for the chase system. Then you had 10 races to prove that once you qualified, you were the best team that year. I don't have a problem with that system at all. The only problem with that system was that Jimmy Johnson won a whole bunch of them in a row, like maybe 5 in a row. Ended up winning 7 overall. I want to say it felt like he won 10 in a row, to be totally honest with you. It just felt like for a decade, nobody won anything, including races, except Jimmy Johnson and Chad Canal. So they stunk up that decade and that era more than anything else. And I don't know that any playoff system or whatever would have survived with them with the winning clip that they had back then. But that's a story for another day. So let me jump into the comments. That's my little spiel, to start this thing off with today. Like I said, poll question. Does NASCAR manufacture too many green white checkers? Yes, no, whopper, 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 or killing time until the McRib returns. Personally, I'm going with killing time until the McRib returns because I pretty much know how this one's going to go already. 65% saying yes. So let's jump into the chat and see where I left off. I'm gonna start here where OJ's at. McRib sounds gross. LOL. Well, it's McDonald's. Everything at McDonald's is gross. To be totally honest with you, you eat there because you feel like eating something bad. That's really the only reason you eat there. Let's see. To be fair, watching the 9 cars in car, he got into something too. Says Duke Chronic. Happy for Kyle Busch. Hate it for Martin Truex Jr. Yeah, Martin Truex Jr. That's another one. I probably should have mentioned him in the bad race too. He had such a good race going, and then that tire let go. So bad race for him as well. Definitely a bummer. Definitely a letdown. Had a good car all day, and didn't get the finish that he wanted. Shaw saying, yeah, NASCAR needs to be penalized for race manipulation. Seriously, yeah. So NASCAR, we're going to dock them 100 points, and they are banned from the playoffs as well, and driver and owner points for NASCAR. We're gonna make them sit out the playoffs for race manipulation. McRib, aka McHeart Attacks, is Mark Barnum. Super Size Me says Duke Chronic. That's interesting. The guy that made Super Size Me, he just recently passed away. But when he passed away, I guess all this stuff was coming to light that he faked Super Size Me. The reason that he got super unhealthy is because he was binge drinking and all that stuff. So that's pretty interesting that was such a culturally impactful. And here we go immediately. This is already hour 2 stuff. We're immediately deviating off of NASCAR, but that was such a culturally impactful documentary, and he faked it. Like all of his sicknesses and illnesses from that movie were because he was binge drinking. So that was super interesting. And I probably just got yellow $sign for talking about that because of the drinky drink thing. I hadn't been to McDonald's in a decade. Went for a burger and was too early, and all they want to sell were breakfasts. So I told them to f off. Says that's unfortunate. They got the hot cakes though, the old hot cakes with some sausage. Let's see. Hey there, he is. Oh, says Duke Chronic. What's up, Duke Chronic? Say Kyle. Nice Kyle Busch hat. Says in between the lanes. I appreciate it. They had 20% off, so I went ahead and picked one up at the NASCAR store, NASCAR.com. Check them out. Let's see. The late yellow call after I badmouth their playoff system. Go visit NASCAR.com. Sponsor me. They not really though. The late yellow cost a few teams a lot of money, says Duke Chronic. Indeed, and most importantly, cost Ross probably about 10 to 15 positions, which would have been very helpful because he is the last car in on the cutoff line as it stands right now. But those extra points definitely could have helped him out. He would have been right there, probably sort of around where Chris Buescher is at points wise. But that's not the way it worked out. Everybody except for Ty Gibbs, I want to say, that was on that cut line drama situation deal. Everybody got into some type of wreck at some point during that Michigan race, and that's pretty interesting, especially with Daytona coming up, another chaos race. This was not really supposed to be a chaos race, but it ended up being a chaos race, and now we've got another one coming up right behind it. The caution screwed Ross. I think I just read that one. You, sir, complain about everything. Dylan got what he deserved, says Jack and Coke 43. And that's fine. No problem at all. Thanks for complaining in the comments there, Jack and Coke. The regular version of Reddick McDonald's Camry XSE is canceled, says in between the lanes. And that's a bummer, but you can pick up they'll have a race win version. So you can still pick up the match and set if you'd like to do that. I just want to see NASCAR be consistent when it hits the caution button, says Shy. That would be helpful, but it is what it is. Tyler got a little luck when the six killed the top lane, says Duke Chronic. A little bit, but I feel like he had the best. He had the best car. I think he probably would have won either way, and that's a good thing. I'm glad that the best car actually won, so that was pretty cool. Ben Kubler, what's up, my friend? One wise guy heading to dinner, but Junior brought up a good point. He said the rocker box is an issue there. It used to be 90 degrees from the rocker panel to the rocker box. Thoughts? Yeah, so the whole underbody wing thing, it's not just NASCAR. I've actually seen this in other motorsports, particularly some type of sports cars. I forget what track it was, but it was like a road course. And because the underwing, they had to go over a hill, and because of how much air was going up underneath the underwing, once you got it at a certain angle, it caused the car to flip up like that. So the underwing has always been sort of a tricky thing in motorsports because it is a wing at the end of the day. And once you catch it at the wrong angle, it becomes instead of creating downforce, it creates lift. So the underbody stuff can get real tricky, and I don't know exactly what you do about that going forward. Heading to dinner, that's right. Let's see. To honor my gingers, my mom, Tyler, and Kyle. My mom said, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. Howdy, y'all. Otherwise, bad voodoo, says Robin Marks. That's right. There you go. So if you can't say nothing nice, don't say anything at all. One wise guy dropping the merch link. So if you want to help out the channel, there is the merch link. Also, if you want to join the Discord, he's dropped that link as well. You can feel free to join the Discord. Have a lot of fun over there. Duke Chronic, Austin Dillon is going to get eligibility back. NASCAR is playing games, says Duke Chronic. There's definitely two schools of thoughts on that. I have no idea what's actually going to happen. But I think RCR has as good an argument as you're going to have. It just depends on what that panel is going to say. So it could go either way. There's one school of thought that thinks he's got a really good argument. There's another school of thought that thinks it's going to be a no-brainer, and he's immediately not going to get he's going to get the appeal revoked or whatever. So we'll just have to see what happens. I don't think anybody really knows what's going to happen. I think more so people are just saying how they want it to go and saying that that's how it's going to happen. So I don't know. We'll just have to see what happens tomorrow. Hopefully we get a ruling tomorrow. So that's the main thing. If NASCAR keeps screwing around like this, I will stop watching. First, I just won't make time to catch every race, and that leads to not watching anymore. I've done it before, says Shaw. Yeah, there's some people that are sort of fed up with it. But I think they can fix it all. All they got to do is tweak the playoff system a little bit. Like, there's nothing wrong with having a playoff system. It's just this particular playoff system needs a little bit of tweaking because it's too opportunistic. It basically with the win and you're in scenario, it just emphasizes too much for people to do basically what Austin Dillon did. And we've seen other drivers I'm not picking on Austin Dillon necessarily in particular, but he was just the most recent one. But we've seen other drivers do it in the past. It just incentivized the wreck a guy to win a race type scenarios. Martin Truex Jr. said, go get some auto owners insurance after tapping the wall, says in between the lanes. No doubt about it. Auto owners insurance, a proud sponsor of the number 19 for Martin Truex Jr. Chris MV, is there too many podcasts to complain about the sport? Says Chris MV. I don't know. I don't know if there's too many. I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is. And I don't know that necessarily we're always complaining about the sport. We're just talking about what happens. And just the Austin Dillon thing has been a negative. So I feel like a lot of people feel like it's just been nothing but complaining. But really, I mean, it's just the main story. I can talk about other stuff, but it's always going to veer back to Austin Dillon somehow. So, I mean, it is what it is. Let's see. Problem with Bill having 8 finishes of 32nd or worse and still being able to have the most playoff points. based on wins. I feel this way in general. It's just a fractured system, says B. Yeah, it's a system that probably needs some tweaking. No matter what they do to it, they got to do something because obviously they're upset with the Austin Dillon deal, but they still don't have necessarily a concrete rule as to you can't do this at the end of the race. So until they have that concrete rule in there that you can't do this at the end of the race, or they do something like take the win and you're in type stuff of it away, that would probably be the better thing to do. But I don't know if they'll actually do that because they like the drama, they like the win and you're in. So it just depends on what NASCAR wants out of this. I think NASCAR likes people talking about it because my phone has been blowing up ever since that happened. And like I said, the last time my phone blew up like that was the Ross Chastain situation, and that was more of a positive thing. This is a negative thing. So this is one of the bigger moments in the sport. So I don't know if NASCAR really wants to get rid of it so much as they just sort of want to placate and said, "Hey, we're just going to punish him this time," and sort of maybe they just do it on a case by case, sort of just play it how it comes going forward. But they're definitely in a sticky situation, no matter which way you look at it, until they put a definitive rule down, because they keep saying that there's a line that he crossed, but they won't actually define what line he crossed. So it's just interesting from that perspective. Say Kyle saying, "Ooh, McRib, I involuntarily removed a McRib from my stomach as a kid, and now just the smell of the thing sets me off." Says Say Kyle. So yeah, it's not for everybody. In between the lanes, never had a McRib. You either like them or you don't. They're very much like a cult-ish type thing. So it all depends on just all depends. Let's see. Joseph Wooten, NASCAR needs to make it where you have to be top 20 in points and win to qualify for the playoffs, at least to start there. That's another thing they could do to do it for sure. I think in natural points without the penalty, I think Austin Dillon would be somewhere around 26th without the penalty, maybe somewhere in there. But we'll see. So he would still, even if the win stood or whatever, he would still have to work his way under this scenario. He would still have to work his way up six more positions. So that would be interesting. The final four drivers should have the last five races to settle it, says Duke Chronic. Yeah, so that's another way. That's another. I think Denny Hamlin and them were talking about at least three races from here on out. Bumblebee laughing at say Kyle. B saying McDonald's isn't that bad, especially for breakfast. Hotcakes. Hotcakes were always the ticket back in the day. Kyle Busch uses Lucas Oil products, says in between the lanes. Indeed, he does. Fish fillet all day long, but it's a cold day when I'll order a McRib, says say Kyle. When will NASCAR manipulate an outcome that costs a high roller and gets fingered? I don't know. I don't know. Let's see. Shy saying, could you imagine if NASCAR gets its own team and then pulls out the quick caution and they win? Yeah, so that was another interesting story. NASCAR was talking about fielding its own team, which they do. NASCAR owns IMSA, and they do field a team in IMSA from time to time. That would be an interesting situation if it ever happened. If NASCAR ran its own team and its team ran afoul of the rules, how would that be navigated? So that would actually bring up a pretty interesting scenario. The only thing I've really got to compare it to is the Cars Tour and Kevin Harvick, who was a owner in the Cars Tour. He's had his car thrown out before for rules violations. So that's the only in recent memory. That's the only thing I can think of like that. Trevor Moore did a supersize me with whiskey for whitest kid you know, and it's hysterical. So say Kyle, I'll have to check that one out. I hadn't seen that one yet. McDee's hamburgers should be 50 cents like the old days, says Mark Barnum. Yeah, they definitely need to lower the prices. I know they got in trouble for that. Let's see. Kyle Busch was on trending with the race overseas in November. Australia says in between the lanes. So that's pretty cool. I didn't know he raced over there. I know they've got dirt tracks over there, but I didn't know he actually went over there and raced this November, I should say. I know he's done it in the past. Word to the Bird Boys. What's up, E. Damon? What's up, Dawson Fair? That Reddick McDonald scheme was on my list until it got canceled. Says in between the lanes. Cody Ledger. If Brett Griffin ends up being right about Reddick winning the championship, he won't ever shut up. No doubt about it. But it's not a bad pick. Like even at the beginning of the season, like Reddick's he's poised to be one of the guys. Like he's poised to be one of the next guys. So, and that's why it was such a big deal when Denny Hamlin got him. That was such a big get for 2311. So I think they're in good shape over there going into the future. Anyone catch the Kyle Busch interview where he was pointing the finger at Logano for wrecking people over his career? Kind of funny coming from Kyle Busch, of all people. See Ron Hornaday. Yeah, and that's what I've been saying the whole time. Just about every driver, with the exception of like your Mark Martins and Martin Truex Juniors, just about every driver has at least one of those on his list where he wrecked somebody else. So it's a lot. It's a lot of do as I say, not as I do, going around. I hope Dylan RCR wins the appeal. It's all NASCAR's fault, says David Garland. I mean, well, NASCAR does incentivize this, and until recently, at least in the playoffs, I should say, they haven't really been taking people out of the playoffs for wrecking to win. Now they've done some stuff with tech issues and things like that, but it is what it is. We'll have to see what happens with the appeal. BB, the track you were thinking about, cars flipping, was Le Mans. Says Bruce Garvey. I think the whole Austin Dillon issue has jumped the shark. It really doesn't matter how NASCAR rules at this point. Just wait for the playoffs, says E. Damon. Yeah, I think I'm with you. I don't think that even matters anymore because people are more talking about the NASCAR playoffs and how they need to be changed or if they still love them and all this other stuff. That's sort of where it's veered off to. NASCAR already told the panel how to rule, says Perry Earl. Tell me about a time in life and society where people weren't complaining about something, says Ben Kluber. I mean, that's just part of it is what it is. I got to get a McRib when they come back, says Delmer Kaufman. Yeah, I don't know if they'll bring them back, but McDonald's has been bringing back a lot of stuff. They're trying to get people enticed to go back there. They've had a drop off in customers visiting them or something like that. I just hope Dylan wins for Max Chaos and one less legit competitor to get in the 24's way to a championship. I'm all for Max Chaos. Like not even necessarily Dylan winning, just anybody. Dylan winning would be funny just because of all the controversy stirred up, or even Kyle Busch winning would be funny just because of all the controversy stirred up by RCR. But anybody outside of the top 16 in points winning a race, like it just creates chaos. So I'm all for it. Let's see. What's up, BB? Rocking your shirt today. Appreciate you, T Van. Glad you're enjoying the merch there. Just stopping by to say, hey, what's up, Lovey Barkley? Thanks for stopping by. I'll watch the whole thing next week. No problem. 1999, 24-hour Le Mans. Mulsanne Straight. That's exactly so. The Mulsanne Straight with the Mercedes. That's exactly what I was thinking about. I recognize the car. So once you said Mercedes, that's it. I appreciate you there, Brickyard Brickhead. Just take the natural top 16. I think that would probably be the best bet, or whatever they did back in the day, the natural 10. Or was it 12? Was it 12 in the player with 10 races to go? I don't know. Something like that. Because some people think 16 is too many. So I don't know. It's just however you want to navigate it. Does Donald Duck have the best orange juice? I mean, Sunny D. Sunny D, it's not really orange juice, but Sunny D, all right. New gimmick with 10 to go. Caution comes out to set up a 5-lap dash so they can stop with the BS caution at the end, says like dislike. I mean, I don't know. That's pretty much what they're doing already. So for a lot of races, so it is what it is. Dang, playoffs could have got most consistent driver. Period. You can give extra points to winners, and no win in your consistency should win championships, says Jeremy Hale. Yeah, I mean the meritocracy part of it. I'm with you. I think you have to. All people wanted back in the day when they originally started any type of playoffs or the chase, as it was called back then. People just wanted wins to count for more, and they still wanted the consistency to be something that mattered. They just wanted more points for a win. So I think somewhere in there we got a chase system, and the more wins thing. I don't know. It fell to the wayside. Mickey D's is like a laxative, says PC Gone Rogue. One way of having less green, white checkers is getting rid of stage cautions. Less cautions will make them more spread apart. So yeah, stage cautions that gets brought into it quite a bit as well. I think you could keep the stages, just drop the stage cautions. It would still add a nice layer of intrigue, a nice layer of strategy to it. Mickey D's is a laxative, says William Wagaman. Hot take: Brett Griffin is not as annoying as you think. I don't think Brett Griffin necessarily annoys people on Door Bumper Clear so much as he annoys people on Twitter. It seems to be what I gather from it. And I'm not on Twitter all that much, but it seems to be more of a Twitter thing than actual him on the show. I would venture to say. I feel like Larson is there with Truex and Mark for clean driving. Says Shah. A lot of people would disagree with that. A lot of people feel like Kyle Larson's a dirty driver, so I'm not going to get into that one because of the obvious bias. But there's a lot of people that would push back on that. You see quite a bit of it in social media. Bruce Garvey, I don't feel like I don't feel sorry for Childress losing Reddick. He had plenty of time to sign him, says Bruce Garvey. Yeah, I mean he had him. He had him for another year, and they could have gone ahead and got that contract extension knocked out. So it's just it's not even. I wouldn't even say it's anything Childress did wrong. It was just Denny slid in there, and he made a better offer, and it's business at the end of the day. He got a top free agent, and that's just the way it went. That being said, I don't think that Reddick ever had it from Reddick's comments. I don't think Reddick ever planned on re-signing with RCR after that contract extension was over with anyway. So I don't know that there was anything necessarily Richard Childress could have done to keep him. I feel like Reddick was just ready to move on to what he felt like is a better team. So I think that's basically what that was. I think the green white checkered should go on the flagman, so the second place guy can't cheat. Says Cody Ledger. I'm curious if the panel suspends Dylan for Daytona for the right hook. I think they can make a penalty worse as well. I don't know if they can make it worse or not. So I don't know. I don't know about all that. We'll just have to see how it plays out tomorrow. I don't think that they can. I don't think that they can change the penalty. I think that they can just either reverse it or not reverse it. Uh, but I don't know. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I'm not exactly sure what they can do in that particular appeal deal. Too bad Larson is HMS. Hard to cheer for, says Shaw. I can hear the advert now. The McRib is back. Get the McRib combo meal. Only $24.99. McDonald's has lost their minds on pricing. Yeah, that's been a big thing. McDonald's pricing has gone way past, I guess, inflation numbers. That's been like a storyline. I haven't looked into it too much. I've just sort of seen headlines and stuff like that. Larson wrecks Larson a lot, though, says Shaw. Yeah, Larson's worst enemy a lot of times is Larson. If Larson was not out, the 45 doesn't win the race, says Duke Chronic. I don't know. Larson sort of had like a short run car, but after that, and Reddick had a long run car. So it just depends. Depends on how it all played out. What races are you thinking about going to next year? Wilkesboro, says Jeremy Hill. I don't know if I'll make Wilkesboro. I've done Wilkesboro a few times already with the Cars Tour, helping out. So I've sort of got my feel on that one. I don't know, but it's definitely on the list. I kind of want to go to Darlington at some point. I want to go to a race in Daytona at some point. So there's a few on my list in front of Wilkesboro just because I've been to Wilkesboro uh, already, even though I guess that's technically on the infield. So I didn't really get to see the greatest of races from the infield. Rockingham, I'm thinking about for the when it officially gets announced because they're getting apparently, according to DBC, they're getting the trucks in Xfinity on Easter. So I might do that one. You hear DBC's new nickname for Larson? It's Hung Money because he keeps stepping on his junk all the time. Says, say Kyle, I did. They've already got the T-shirts out. They missed opportunity. They should have done the French name on the T-shirts. So yeah, that's and I'll leave it at that because they used a pretty common reference in racing. That gets said a lot, but I can't say it on YouTube. I blame the current playoff format on too many execs with too much powder during meetings, says Shaw. BB, you're right. I always thought 25 extra for the win and keep the season points championship, says Bruce Garvey. Yeah, I think that's basically all people really wanted back in the day. And I think for TV reasons, NASCAR came up with the chase. And that was sort of, they were trying to find like a happy medium, but it was still the era where NASCAR wasn't fully like transparent. So they didn't explain to you why they actually came up with the chase. They just said, hey, this is what the fans wanted, which was a lie because that's not what the fans wanted. The fans just wanted extra points for wins. Whereas if they had just been transparent and said, hey, we've got a new TV deal and we've got to sell the second half of this TV deal to interested parties, so it makes sense to have a chase, the fans probably would have been okay with that. They would have been like, all right, we don't necessarily like it, but we're more okay with this because you were open as to why you're actually doing it. Like I said, I think you have to have some type of chase system, playoff system, but I think it just needs to be tweaked a little bit. Let's see. I feel like Larson is pretty clean, but I'm sure Haley would absolutely disagree. Says say Kyle. Haley, I think Chase Elliott has been on the wrong end of it as well before. And insert fan that I'm not thinking of right now, and they'll insert their driver that the time that Kyle Larson bumped them or whatever. Be careful. Hopefully, you don't get blocked by Brett Griffin. I haven't said anything bad about Brett Griffin. In fact, I don't really say all that much on Twitter anyway. Let's see. What's up, Roger Pinsky? I hope you're doing good today, my friend. Nothing Larson has particularly done stands out to me. He drives like a maniac and messes up at times, but I cannot remember anything blatant or intentional, says Shop. B saying the captain is here. Holy crap, the captain's in the building. Laughing my butt off, says Stay Kyle. If that is the captain, please get rid of Joey, says William Wagman. I don't think they're going to get rid of old two-time over there. Bubba had such a fast car, too. We couldn't see him and Reddick duke it out. That would have been interesting. That's a good point, John. Uh, Bubba Wallace's car was just as fast as the 45, and that was going to end up being probably a pretty good race between those two for the win if Bubba doesn't get caught up in that, basically the Kyle Larson wreck. If I'm remember, I think it was the Kyle Larson wreck that caught him up. So yeah, William Wagman, what's up, my friend? The chase lost my interest when they made an extra spot for Gordon, says Shaw. So yeah, even with the chase, good point, Shaw. Even the chase was a imperfect system because there was still a team that got caught trying to do race manipulation type stuff. So yeah, that ended up having some controversy of its own. So there's never going to be a perfect system. But all you can do is, talk about the system as it stands and what you would do to fix it, or what you think needs tweaks on it, or defend it if you like it. It's all good. I hope Kyle Busch wins Daytona to keep the streak alive. Says in between the lanes. Yeah, that's another story. No matter whether Kyle Busch makes the playoffs, looking unlikely as it stands now, or whether he misses them, will he get that win to keep the streak going? That's one thing that we'll be looking forward to as the season continues. That caution from Martin Truex Jr. was unnecessary, says AMB 1988. Yeah, a lot of people feel like that, or at the very least, it was a really quick yellow, right? So NASCAR always inconsistent with cautions, so it is what it is. Say Kyle, I can't believe Ross just found a way to throw away his points cushion at the end of the race with the 23 having trouble. Yeah, bad race for Ross. He didn't maximize his points there. Bad race for Kyle Larson. He basically, in my opinion, threw away the unless he gets some serious help from Tyler Reddick and Chase Elliott, he probably basically threw away his chance to win the regular season championship. So it is what it is. T Van, the boomer is here too. I'm joking, says T Van. So yeah, T Van, a boomer in the Discord. Little inside joke there going on betweenst Discordians. Late to the party, will Bubba make the playoffs? Says Jamie Schweitzer. He's been pretty hot as of late, and the fact that they got the car patched up, it's going to be tough. Like, I don't know, man. There's so many people right there at the cut line. Anybody that has a bad race from Tyler Reddick on down, not Tyler Reddick, but from Tyler Gibbs on down. I got Tyler Reddick on the brain because he won the race, but Ty Gibbs on down. Ty Gibbs, I think, is like 36, so he would have to basically finish dead last to wipe away his big point lead. But yeah, Chris Buescher is only like 16 or 17, something like that, maybe 14. I can't remember off the top of my head. Then Ross Chastain's only got 1 point. So it'll be super interesting to see what happens. And like I said, the monkey wrench and all of that is if Austin Dillon thing gets overturned, which who knows which way that'll go. That throws another monkey wrench into that. So just a lot of stuff will probably get answered tomorrow. But Bubba's got as good a chance. He's been driving really good this year. He finished, I think, 10th in points last year. So he's been picking it up here recently. So I wouldn't count him out by any stretch of the imagination. The only driver in the Cup Series that drives 1 through 11, do not have dumped or interfered with someone for a win would be Josh Berry and Corey LaJoy. Feel free to correct me. I don't know, man. Corey LaJoy, he doesn't always make TV, but Corey he drives pretty aggressively. I'm not going to say he wrecks people, but he doesn't necessarily have a great name. You hear a lot of people complain about, if you listen to the scanner at least, a lot of people complain about racing around Corey LaJoy. I don't know if that's just him throwing aggressive blocks or what, because you never actually get to see it on TV. You just hear it on the scanner. But yeah, he's pretty aggressive. I don't know about Josh Berry. I haven't heard anything bad about him, so you might be on it with Josh Berry. I would throw Martin Trix Jr. into that mix too, for sure. Larson is done for the regular season champ. Death taxes and Larson wrecking at Daytona. Says say Kyle, yeah, pretty much. Like Kyle Larson finishing a race at Daytona is a victory for him. Inside NASCAR on HBO was the best NASCAR coverage, says Chris MV. Good point. Good point. That was a good show. That's a rare one that people don't really talk about. Like you always hear a lot about Wind Tunnel with Dave Despain, which was one of my favorites. But yeah, HBO used to have such good, like everything sports wise on HBO used to be so good back in the day. At least when I had HBO, I say like mid 2000s was really good stuff. About to make everyone mad. What if we do away with points altogether? And only winners move on to the playoffs. Says like dislike. Well, I think that's basically what you have now. So I don't know. I don't know that that necessarily changes anything, except for like it would hurt Martin Truex Jr. because he doesn't have a win this year. So you'd only have like what 12 or 13, however many people have won a race this year. Maybe 12. I think we've had 12 different winners. I'm not sure. What's the second driver for both Rick Ware and colleagues? Says Sir Wood Rooster. I have no idea. I haven't heard anything super official on any of it. I would imagine SVG for colleague. That's been the big rumor there for Rick Ware. Corey LaJoy, I've heard, but I don't know. I don't know. All of it's rumors. The captain rules, says Jamie Schweitzer. Like dislike, I kind of like that. And the last race could be done raffle style. Pick a name out of a barrel, says Shaw. I'm dumb. I forgot Pocono a month ago, says Cody Ledger. Captain, get your IndyCar together. That's getting a little biased over there, says William Wagaman. So he's trying to get the captain to tighten up the IndyCar series. I'll leave that to David Land. That's his area of expertise. I know very little about it. Keselowski with a top 5. Hopefully Chris gets the playoffs. RFK says AMB. So yeah, Keselowski. I think without the engine shutting off, Keselowski could have made that thing interesting. But he had, I guess, some intermittent engine issues where it was cutting on and off on him. So that's unfortunate. Inside NASCAR was great too because they basically did a radioactive segment that was totally uncensored. Hearing KFB rage, KFB and Kurt Busch back in the day were legendary for the in car. While beating JJ's back bumper off at Martinsville was epic. T Van, who really cares about the regular season champion? Says T Van. A lot of people care because there's a lot of people that are like, that's the only real champion. You'd be amazed. There's a lot of people that NASCAR doesn't really play it up that much. I'll say that. I feel like NASCAR could make it a bigger deal, but I do feel like a lot of people do care about it. Just judging from the comments and stuff that I read on the videos. You want to McRib that bad? Go buy yourself a Hungry Man dinner barbecue, and there's one in there. Says William Wagaman. So yeah, McRib. I didn't think the McRib was going to get that much traction. I put it up there as a joke, but yeah, it's been a lot of McRib references here. Brad's been sneakily great all year, says Bumblebee. The whole RFK team has. So been a good 2-year run for RFK, which is good because they've been just not doing great until recently. So it's good to see them back in the mix and one of the power teams really. Watch American Flat Track race for bikes. And where racing cleans up, says Brickyard Brickhead. Yeah, Rick Ware Racing, depending on the series, they actually are good in some series. Unfortunately, NASCAR until this year, I feel like the old 51 there has done pretty good this year. But other than that, previous years not so much. DM drops your drops says super official BB says in between the lanes. 15 playoff points is a pretty big deal. Says say Kyle Keselowski was my pick. Says Shaw. Oh yeah, for winning the regular season for sure. So yeah, the 15 playoff points for winning the regular season is a big deal as well. Good point. Keselowski was my pick, says T Van. Regular season champ is my champ, says Shaw. So there you go. There's one person who judges the regular season champ as the real champ. I don't know if I said it. This was in a while, but I don't know if I said this in a while. But HMS sucks. So like dislike on the anti HMS bandwagon. Chase championship is just lucky, says Shaw. You can say that, but then you can the year he didn't win it, he actually had statistically the best season. So depending on how you look at it, he's won one either way, I guess. I don't know. Agree, says T Van. HMS sucks and blows, says Shaw. I got followed by Denny Hamlin on X. I'm gonna hate him less now, says Bumblebee. Denny Hamlin's like, I don't know. I don't understand why Denny. I guess because the way he drives on track, he seems, from what I've seen from him and the people I know that know him, he seems like a pretty nice guy from what I've gathered. He's always pretty good with the fans. So uh, I don't know. I think he gets too much hate, but that's just my opinion. I know people are going to hate him anyway, so I'm not trying to change anybody's opinion. I'm just giving my 2 cents on it. The year is 2050, and Rickware Racing has just surpassed HMS for the most race wins. Says Say Kyle. On Earth 2, brother, we've already beat them. Let's see, Shy, they suck and blow all the way to a ton of wins and championships. Says Say Kyle. Denny's a good man in real life, says B. I loved him on the Netflix show. I think he did turn a lot of people's opinion on the Netflix show because you actually got to see behind the scenes a little bit. I'm a Larson fan, but what lap will Larson crash out at Daytona? He crashes out just about every plate race, says Escobar. I'll say this: if he does crash out, I hope he crashes out early so that the Larson fans, myself included, don't get their hopes up. The worst thing is to get your hopes up, sort of like Ross Chastain this weekend at Michigan. The Ross Chastain fans, everybody had their hopes up that he was going to, get a good chunk of points toward the good on the cut line, and then the overtime comes, and you had the big letdown where you would run good the whole race, and then the overtime sort of screwed you up there. So if Larson wrecks, hopefully it's early on, so people don't build up their hope. The year is 2030, 23, 11 wins, 3 championships in a row, total domination. NASCAR is bankrupt, says Wayne Wagman. When Denny Hamlin spawned on the crowd was cheering for him, says PC on Rogue Tide needs to sponsor another car like as soon as possible. All 36 races, says Ben Kluwer. I think that would be pretty popular. They have been on the hood of several cars. Most recently, I think it was like a Kroger Tide, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and before that it was Colleague, and before that it was Richard Petty Motorsports or Petty GMS before they became Legacy. Larson will wreck right after the start of stage 3, so people's fantasy lineup is busted, says Say Kyle. What's the odds on getting a car into Lake Lloyd with what we saw this weekend, says B? Oh, I don't know. I guess it depends on how the wind's blowing and whatnot. Arca with 4 ladies in the top 8, 2 on the podium, Robusto and Raymer. Seem very real, says Brickyard Brickhead. Isabella Robusto is really good. I haven't seen, I know Raymer mostly ran at Hickory, so I haven't seen her that much, but I know Robusto can drive. I know she's really good. HMS always has Neil and Bob working for them. Says like dislike. Larson wants some points. Stage wins. Better not crash out early, says Car Enthusiast. Oh yeah, I mean I'm hoping he doesn't wreck at all, but I'm saying if he is going to wreck in that race, hopefully it's early so people don't get their hopes up. But yeah, he's definitely going to be going for stage points in that deal, no doubt about it. So Trackhouse runs ECR or Hendrick engines. I know Hendrick supplies some engines and parts to ECR, but they don't build their engines, says Escobar. So ECR and Hendrick merged engine programs. So no matter where you get the engine from, it's pretty much the exact same engine at this point. Chevrolet made them do it because they saw that that's where Ford in particular was beating them. So now it really makes no difference if you get it from Hendrick or ECR. It's all the same information being shared. It's all the same engine being built. Except for probably the engines that go in the Hendrick cars and the actual engines that go in the RCR cars. I'm sure that they have a little bit more horsepower. Like they'll tell you the thing, like we just randomly put them in a lottery and pick them and send them to you. That's what they say, but brother, I'm never going to believe that. And you will never convince me that Hendrick doesn't have the better motors and that RCR doesn't save the better motors for themselves. Justin Haley, because me personally, if I was building them, that's what I would do. Like, all right, I'm gonna give you a really good motor, but I got this one over here because it's got 2 or 3 more horsepower, and that's the one I'm going with. Or depending on the track, it's got better torque numbers. Justin Haley had tied at Colleague. Lake Lloyd has Gators. Denny got cocky like the old Kyle Busch. So Denny did take it on himself, saying he just got greedy for that wreck right there. Now Kyle is with a team everyone wants to see come back. He is tanking, put the 8 car in the Tide ride. Says T-Van, that would be interesting. Number 8 Tide car for RCR. That would be crazy. Florida Gator test, dip your hand in the water. If it's wet, there's a gator in it, says Say Kyle. Bring back movies, comic books, paint schemes, more sponsorships. Most sponsorships are kind, says Chris MV. Florida State plays Georgia Tech in Ireland this Saturday. College football is almost here. Yeah, it is getting that time. Actually, the weather recently, it's been sort of cool at night and in the morning, and then hot in the day. So it's sort of starting to trend, at least where I'm at, toward fall. We rarely get fall. It's usually like summer straight to winter. We usually get like 2 weeks of fall, so it's getting sort of like fall weather, but it's probably not going to last here. It'll probably be hot and humid again pretty soon. They didn't merge engine programs. I got behind the scene at Hendrick, and they do not build ECR engines, says Escobar. I'm just telling you what Chevrolet said. I can't speak to that. I was there when Al Unser stopped at the edge of Lake Lloyd when running IROC in the 70s. You think Dale Jr. would drive a car that only had paint on the side skirts? Says Kyle. I don't know. He's real particular about the rocker panels having to match the car, so that would be interesting. Ronald Reagan on the 54 car this Saturday night, says Ben Kluber. Yeah, so Dennis Quaid is doing a Ronald Reagan movie, so that's what that's all about. I'm coming around on Hamlin. Used to despise him. Now I just mildly dislike him. Another year or two, and I'll like him. From what I've been told from someone that works at Hendrick Engines, is each build their own engine, but Hendrick supplies some parts to ECR. So maybe that's the deal. I don't know. I'm just going off the stories that were reported. I don't know. I guess I could probably go ask somebody, and they might tell me the truth. They might not. I don't know. But yeah. 2 wins, you're in. We'll bring the points back in the battle, says Mr. Soggy Pickle. Mr. Soggy Pickle. So yeah, maybe 2 wins. I don't know. I don't know what they do. I feel like just the people that were best in points was always the more fair way to do it. But I don't know. There's a million ways you could do it. Just the current format for a lot of people got exposed with the Austin Dillon / Ricky Stenhouse deal. However you want to look at it, Joe Logano, Denny Hamlin, the 4 horsemen that exposed the playoffs, I guess we could say. Outside of NASCAR, the college football season is probably one of the best times of the year sports-wise, says In Between the Lanes. Yeah, because you also, right about that time, you'll have the World Series going too. So all of it sort of culminates, or at least the baseball playoffs all sort of culminates at the same time. It's a lot going on. BB last 12 laps. Whenever cautions come out, 1 yellow lap to go to pit road, then the red flag until warm up to the green lap. Says Jamie Schweitzer. I don't know. I don't know. My personal thoughts on it is just get rid of the just finish the races at the distance. If it's under yellow, it's under yellow. The mental image of a soggy pickle is so gross until you realize that every pickle is soggy. LOL, says Kyle. Bruce Garvey's 70 IROC were the best of the best world drivers. Says Brickyard Brickhead. NBA, NFL, NHL begin as well during the NASCAR playoffs while IndyCar is done, says In Between the Lanes. Indeed. November is super busy. That's sort of when all that kicks off. And sometimes the World Series does bleed into November if you get lucky, or maybe it bleeds into October. Anyway, right around that time, everything sort of goes down. All right, poll question. 77% yes with 77 votes. So that's going to get the win. Second place is no. third place, and that's the one everybody wanted to see, is Whopper Whopper. It takes the win over the McRib, killing time till the McRib comes. So that is the poll question. Let's see. You should go to Bowman Gray next year for the kickoff race. I want to see you freeze out there, says William Wagman. We'll see. If somebody gets me tickets, we'll see. Escobar, I hate the playoffs. It basically hands the championship to the driver that performs the best at the last race. I agree with that. The last race shouldn't decide a champion. I do agree with you right there on that. What if that track is your worst? Should a driver really lose the championship because of it? I think that's a fair point. That's why I think the 10 race deal is a better deal. Yep, 20 will win if he's still alive, says Say Kyle. So Say Kyle picking the 20 car to win the championship. So we'll see. But it looks like we've reached the end of the chat. So I will check you guys. The next live stream will be pre-race Sunday for Daytona. So I'll check you guys then. Until then, peace out, and I'll keep making the videos.